20 years ago this month, Formula One lost one of its greatest ever drivers, Ayrton Senna de Silva at Imola in Italy. So what are we doing here at the Nürburgring Grand Prix circuit? Well, 30 years ago this month, Senna participated in a one-off race here that really marked his arrival in Europe. But it wasn't Formula One. Mercedes-Benz got together 20 new road cars and invited some of the greatest living drivers to a special 12-lap race to celebrate both the opening of the Grand Prix circuit here at the Nürburgring, but also the launch of a brand new model, the 190e 2.3 litre 16-valve Cosworth.
This was to be the first race here. The old Formula One races were held on the Nordschleife, and that ended in '76 when Niki Lauda had his horrendous crash.
The cars were taken straight off the production line and only lightly modified. They had a roll cage, bucket seats, slightly lowered suspension, but they were still luxury saloons. They still had electric sunroofs, they still had the electronic seat adjustments, and they still had the state-of-the-art Blaupunkt tape deck.
For Senna, this was a unique opportunity for him to test himself against the established all-time greats. There were 9 Formula One champions there and 2 future ones, those being Senna himself and his future nemesis, Alain Prost. Senna was collected from the airport in a hire car by Alain Prost, and he was pretty chatty on the way to the airport by all accounts. I don't think Prost quite knew what was in store.
The rest of the lineup reads like a who's who of motorsport greats. There were James Hunt, Niki Lauda, Stirling Moss,
Scheckter, Surtees, Brabham,
Hume, Phil Hill, even Fangio turned up for a look, and he was 72.
There were also a group of German touring car champions invited too, so it was a tremendous lineup, some real quality there. And actually,
yeah, Carlos Reutemann was one of them, weren't it?
There were 100,000 spectators. That's quite something for an event.
Yeah, it was a big event.
Some of the drivers treated this as a bit of a jolly, and of course Mercedes really laid on a great event. But Senna took it deadly serious. At that point, his only title was the British F3 Championship, so you couldn't really say he was there on merit, and he had a couple of unremarkable races in Atonement in F1. But when Emerson Fittipaldi had to drop out, Mercedes had spotted the potential in Senna and invited him along. I think they're probably glad that they did.
So they went out to qualify. Prost was on pole, Senna was second. Senna was not happy about that and apparently stopped talking to everybody. Lauda actually missed qualifying and actually had to start at the back of the pack.
When the race started, the weather was pretty awful, and Prost only managed to hold Senna off for about half a lap, and Senna pushed Prost offline, a bit like I'm driving now. And well, Prost really wasn't very happy, and it kind of set the tone for their tempestuous relationship in later years.
The cars were taking a pasting, and the drivers were showing very little mechanical sympathy for the new baby Benz.
I'm not showing a lot of mechanical sympathy today either.
James Hunt was having a whale of a time, drifting it around every corner, and Alan Jones actually managed to completely break his car. At the back of the pack, Niki Lauda was fighting absolutely to the tooth and nail, fighting his way to the front of the pack.
This '84 race was an example of Senna at his best. He had an ability to really remember a track and understand what he could get away with. He had an amazing ability to extract absolutely everything from a car. He was focused, aggressive, determined to win at all costs, and it was thrilling to watch.
The 2.3 litre Cosworth engine 190e actually only has 185 bhp, which doesn't sound a lot for something weighing 1.3 tonnes. It's about exactly the same actually as the new 2014 Mini Cooper S, which is not a particularly hot hatch, but back in the day this was something special. Guess how much this cost back in 1984?
Oh, wow. Go on, surprise me.
21,500 actually, which a bit of man maths works out at 62,000 in today's money. It's mad, isn't it?
The design is fantastic. It's real Etch-a-Sketch styling, isn't it? There's not a curve anywhere on it.
Styled by Lego.
Yeah, but that's cool. And it was Mercedes' first small car, wasn't it? And it wasn't a...
They spent a fortune. It was something like £600 million on development. And they reckon it was massively over-engineered, didn't they?
Well, it's the kind of car that you see even today in German taxi ranks, painted in that god-awful sand colour.
A million miles on the clock.
This one's pretty special though. It's got quite a bit of poke. It's not, by modern standards, a blindingly quick car, but it's pokey. But what I love is you have to work at it. You really have to work hard to get the performance out. So the thing leans on its tyres, the whole suspension kind of leans into the corners. It's a Q car as well, isn't it? It doesn't look anything too spectacular from the outside. There are a couple of subtle clues, you know, the spoiler and the bib and the wheels, but it's not in your face.
No, it is. I mean, compared to the M3, it's pretty subtle, isn't it? And actually, the body kit that's on this, which isn't that wild, made it one of the slipperiest cars of its time. It's got a really low drag coefficient, considering the 3-box design of it. It's quite surprising, actually.
It's got a dogleg gearbox as well.
Yeah.
And
which puts the fear of God into everyone behind you in traffic as you pop on the reversing lights every time.
And this steering wheel, I don't know if you can see it from the camera, but it's colossal.
That is the smaller sports steering wheel,
it's the size of the moon.
It looks like it's come off a Leyland bus.
Senna's racing strategy wasn't actually that sophisticated. He simply had to get to the front of the pack at all costs and stay there. It was pretty thrilling to watch, but it didn't win him many friends on track.
He weren't there to make friends, though. He never really was he?
No. That's what probably marks him out as a great, same as Schumacher and probably Vettel, because they'll do the dirty to get the points.
Do the dirty. Senna won the race comfortably. Unbelievably, Lauda, who had started at the back of the pack, finished second, with Carlos Reutemann coming in third. This was a magnificent race, and I don't think we've ever seen quite so many racing greats on the grid together. But it was great for Mercedes-Benz as well, and a great showcase for the new 190e Cosworth engine car. I think they were sort of expecting Lauda to romp home. They actually even had 2 cars liveried up with Lauda down the side. There was the blue-black version, and there was the smoke silver version, so they could take the pick for the museum. But it didn't quite pan out as they expected. But Niki Lauda had obviously a lot to do with the new Grand Prix circuit, didn't he? Because he was most vocal about safety concerns on the Nordschleife.
Yeah, for all the talk of Senna at this race, actually Lauda's achievements were no less remarkable. From the back of the pack to second is quite something. Also, I read that the top 10 drivers, their fastest lap times were only 1/10 of a second apart. I mean, that's extremely close racing.
And considering the age of the drivers as well. I mean, how old was Senna at the time? 20-something?
Yeah, it was. And the hangovers, because there was a tremendous gala the night before.
Well, Hunt was probably still pissed the way he was driving.
The Mercedes-Benz chairman had promised to display the winning car in the Mercedes-Benz Museum, and perhaps he would have expected one of the bigger names of the day instead of the relatively unknown young Brazilian. But he needn't have worried. Senna went on to win 41 Grand Prix races and 3 championships to become perhaps the greatest driver ever.